Hi, and welcome to They Did What Now, the show that discusses the baldiest, most bizarre, and downright strange moves in history. I have never not half-assed that intro, and frankly, I do not intend to start now. We're on a great streak with it. We talk about out-of-left-field actions, just weird shit. We talk about weird shit that people do in general. And I am very excited because today we have a special. We're doing They Did What Now in space! I actually had a space picture that I forgot to bring up here. But, you know, you can all imagine space, the final frontier, etc. Hopefully some of you may be joining us from the other link, I hope. I put a link there to the new video. We had a few more streaming gremlins, but everything seems to be fine now. So joining me today, I have Allie O'Rourke and Brian Cheatle. If I can bring them up here. Hi. Yeah, Allie's trying out a new look. It's very minimalist. The little revolving thing there. It's hypnotic to look at, generally. Yeah, possibly an improvement. I don't know. We wait until she gets in. Give a few minutes.
She was here a minute ago.
She was.
Hi, I'm back. Did you miss me?
We're out of your minimalist period. Yeah, no, it's cool. It's fine. Everyone is here. Allie and Brian are two of my fellow co-founders of the Hysteria network. Both incredible comedians. Allie is the host of both Post-Performance Pints and Quarantathlon on this very network. What? I thought there was a signal there. Woo! Brian is also fucking hilarious. Brian's comedy has this level of just done that I just very much appreciate, and I think is truly a style for the times. He also hosts Retrovision, the terrible movie show. The show isn't terrible, the movies are terrible. So guys, today we are talking about what?
Nothing. Hi.
Are you being self-deprecating on the internet?
Yeah.
Don't do that. That's my thing. So we're going to be talking
Is that not the internet thing?
I was doing it before I was online, so, you know, whatever. I hated myself before it was cool.
We all did, MJ.
We all did. Comedians are such a well-adjusted...
That's why we became comedians.
Yeah. We had to have that sweet validation. How are you guys doing without the stage time, by the way?
Well, I've had the fucking COVID-19 to keep me busy the last couple of weeks. So that's that ate up a lot of my time.
Yeah. That is fair.
You don't want it. Seriously. Don't touch your face. Just don't touch your face. I can touch my face. I've already had it. I'm allowed to touch my face.
You can just,
in fact, everyone can touch my face.
Hand all over it.
Anyone who's watching, just reach out and touch the screen and touch my face.
Allie touched her face, and now she's like a little.
No,
round.
it's the only way to cure it is to touch Brian's face.
So as I said, comments are open. We were talking about the space race, which is ripe for this kind of stuff because it was essentially a decades-long, low-stakes dick measuring contest between the US and the Soviet Union. Now, when I was on my state-approved daily walk today on my way to queue for groceries, it did strike me that there may be something missing from this broadcast. Извините, товарищи, but it is very difficult to find concrete information on Soviet space missions. The Russians aren't quite as cool at declassifying documents as the Americans are.
They were just generally not as good at sending things into space. Like, they send silly stuff into space, like Russians and a dog. Who sends a dog into space? Come on, Russia. You're not going to take it seriously. You're not going to be allowed to send stuff into space. America sent brilliant stuff into space. They sent monkeys into space. That's amazing. That's genius. I never would have thought of that. That's the best idea ever.
But yeah, no, it's really hard to find concrete information on Soviet space missions, and a lot of the stuff that's out there is conspiracy theories. There probably were some phantom cosmonauts that died horribly, but conclusive evidence is hard to find. And a lot of
burned up in the atmosphere.
Could be. A lot of the information out there as well, the way it's reported by American sites is it's very look how stupid the Russians were. And while it is true that how do I put this? Ideological purity and the scientific method locked horns in ways that were quite literally very explosive sometimes.
Yeah.
The way it's reported is very takes a lot of digging into, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And
they had their own space shuttle, but they didn't tell anyone because it didn't work.
Yeah. Well, I think Allie is gone. Allie's Soviet sympathies have won out. And she
it's just going to be, isn't
it? Stormed off the stream in a spate of tankie disgust. Is what we're going to go with there. But yeah, we may in fact do a Soviet space special at some point when we have more time to kind of dig past the misinformation and into the real research. So Allie going to be back anytime soon? We don't know. Where's my phone? I don't have it. Let's see if I've got any sort of message from her. This is why it's always good to have a spare comedian. Sorry, Brian, no offense.
I'll take it.
I just said really nice things about you. You're not the spare. You're equally and validly important to me, and I
Okay.
Emotions. I have emotions towards both of you. So the way this generally works is we do a myself and my guest. There's usually just two of us. There is now just two of us. Oh, is she back? Is she back? Every time that she comes back on stream, it's really self-defeating, but I feel like leaving her out just because I could, because I'm going mad with power here. But like, let's see if we got her back. Hey, you ready to talk about space? It's frozen on. I can't tell if she's just very unimpressed by the entire concept of everything here, or if she's just frozen.
Oh, join the club.
You can touch Allie's face there if you want. Just kind of poke it. Poking it.
Poking it. Allie? No, she's gone. She was dead weight anyway.
Yeah, God, we don't need her. We don't need her. We've got space. We've got all of space. Very big.
Although she was the only one who could put images up on the screen. So we've lost that.
I might be able to. Let's see.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Hey!
Yeah, woo! I have learned something today, and I hope you guys will too. About space. We're more of the laughing at things than learning of things here. This is not rigorously researched or peer reviewed or anything like that. Do we ever back? Yes. Whoa. Are you in? Ground control to Major Tom.
No.
See, it's space themed. It's space themed. Okay, we will.
No, we press on. Yeah.
I will continue to try and add Allie to the stream. So we generally start with a 30-second elevator pitch. Just kind of talk about just a brief spoiler-free thing. As part of the fun here is just springing the ridiculousness on other people. So, Brian, what is your 30-second elevator pitch?
Well, what I have here is the curiously personal tale of humanity's interstellar unsolicited dick pic and mixtape.
Interstellar unsolicited dick pic.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A dick pic sent by the human race to the unsuspecting cosmos.
Ali, would you like to react to the interstellar dick pic, or?
She's on the move.
She's on the move.
What's going on?
Grand Road Major Tom. We have a problem. I will be insufferable with this. I will
Jesus.
Broadcast. I'm sorry, guys.
Is there some issue? Is something on my end I can do to help? No.
Nope, I don't think so. So you have interstellar dick pics or extraterrestrial dick pics? Like, were they coming from a different star? Is this life?
No, they were sent by
beyond
us.
our solar system, sending us dick pics.
No. It was the human race sending dick pics into outer space.
More on brand for us.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know why it's better if it's an alien dick pic. I don't.
Well, could you even tell if it was an alien dick pic?
Well, mine is extraterrestrial legal misadventures and space priests. Priests in space, like pigs in space, like the Muppets.
No, I get the reference.
Yeah. Kermit's a cunt. Anyway, shall we?
Controversial.
Listen, do not get me fucking started on Kermit the Frog. Okay, that's a whole other broadcast. But
I had no intention of getting you started on Kermit the Frog. You'll be happy to know.
Do I go into my beef with Kermit right now? We have comments open, by the way, guys. If you're watching and you really want to know my issues with Kermit the Frog, they are many. I have receipts. He knows what he did, basically. So if you want to hear me, I will talk for hours about how much I hate that little green prick. So if you want to hear about it, leave a comment. Leave a comment anyway on any aspect of this. We'll try to get Allie back in now so she can hopefully give us her pitch. Come on. It's mesmerizing, really. Okay, well, we'll hopefully be able to get her back in a little bit. Internet's gone. Don't add me. Oh, I probably shouldn't be reading that. We will try and add her in as it goes, but in the meantime, let's crack on. So please tell me all about the extraterrestrial dick pic, Brian.
Well, it's about the Pioneer and Voyager spacecrafts. There are 4 spaceships that were launched in the 1970s to explore the outer planets, and they're going to be the 4 objects to leave the solar system and fly out into outer space. So they will eventually just be the last remaining evidence of the human race, because one day the sun will go supernova and it'll take the Earth with it, and there'll be nothing left except for these 4 spaceships. And they have messages for alien races to potentially find, which they certainly won't do, because space is infinite and these things are the size of a small car. So no one's ever going to find them. It's not going to happen, MJ. It's just not going to happen.
I want to believe. Come on. It could happen. It could happen. If space is infinitely big, then there's infinite other possible small cars in it that can. I just really want.
Absolutely.
Honestly, as Happy Autism Awareness Month, by the way, as an undiagnosed autistic kid, I was just praying for the aliens to come pick me up. So don't destroy my childhood dream, Brian. Anyway, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. I've had my moment.
They definitely won't find them. But they have messages on them for the aliens, these 4 spaceships. And curiously, the messages are all pretty much one man's weird hippie bullshit.
Okay.
So really just one person is going to be the last of us and be the last evidence of humanity. That man is Carl Sagan, an astrophysicist. He was very popular in America. I didn't really know him when I was a kid. I don't know. He
I've
had
a stake in in my story as well, actually.
Oh, we got around, yeah. No, he did some good stuff. He was the first person to come up with the whole idea of the greenhouse effect and nuclear winter. So he was very concerned about the Earth.
Okay.
And he did also help set up SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, which, as I've already stated, is a giant fucking waste of time.
Step on my dreams.
And they still haven't found any. Hate to burst your bubble.
Found some, and they also went, nah.
But the weird thing about it is, it's that for me, it's that Carl Sagan's love life is just intrinsically wrapped up in these messages, in a really, really weird way.
So he's like subtweeting about his romantic life to aliens.
I don't know. It just got in there. It just got in there. So the messages were: there's 2 Pioneer spaceships, launched in 1972.
I had a message from Allie asking to join the stream, so don't want to interrupt you, Brian, but she probably will. Here we go. Allie, you with us?
Hello.
I can't
Is there any sign?
see you, but I can.
Hiya.
One step. Can you hear me?
Giant leap for mankind. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hear you loud and clear. Your face is frozen.
Okay, cool.
No, that's good.
It's better.
That's grand.
Awesome.
That's it.
So,
hold on, let me just be careful what position my face lands in, so I can get maximum resting bitch face when I eventually freeze over.
No, you're working fine. You're working fine.
Just
brilliant. Way, go team.
Think of something that really pisses
no longer
you off
have
and
they
just hold it there. Don't say that. Don't say that.
So I'll start again. Will I?
Back to the start. So catch Allie up. I'm joking. Sorry about the tech issues, everybody at home. Just having some slight system issues. My end. My bad.
Okay. So, Brian, what about Carl Sagan's love life? I don't know why I assumed sad love life. But I'm still assuming sad love life. I'm sorry. I kind of feel like
I don't think so. He did all right for himself.
No, you did okay. Okay.
Well, yeah. Well, it was just it's just the fact that it kind of made its way into these space messages. I find a bit weird. So the first one was the Pioneer spaceship. Okay. There was 2 of them, 10 and 11, and they went out and they were just going to fly around planets and then fuck off out into interstellar space. And shortly before they're going to launch, Carl Sagan was like, hang on, if these are going to go out into space, should we put some message on it? And so people were like, yeah, okay, let's do that. And so they really hastily put something together very, very quickly. They came up with the idea for a plaque, and they made these metal plaques and they stuck them on the side of each of the spacecraft. And it was Carl Sagan's wife at the time, Linda Saltzman, was an artist and created the artwork for the plaque. Now, we were able to upload images, but I don't trust that to happen. So there it is. If anyone doesn't see it, if everyone doesn't know it, this is out in outer space now. And there's the dick pic. I'll try and get a bit closer, but there we go. That's the dick. There you go. And so, oh, you back? You okay? You saw that? You're muted, MJ. Unmute yourself. You there? I can't hear you. Hiya. Oh, Jesus. I really hope no one's watching this. You're muted again, MJ. It's a little mute button.
Keeps muting itself.
There you go. I can hear you now.
My mic muting itself, which apparently means it has the same views on this podcast as you do, Brian.
What?
Nothing. Just you're dead to me.
Right. What's going on? How are you getting on?
Okay, so is everyone back here now? I was just wondering how often I could make the same sort of ground control to Major Tom.
Where were we with the space stick? That's all. All I saw was space stick. That's my general gist of what's happened. That's how much I've missed.
Space stick. If there is one thing you take from this broadcast tonight, just the space stick, and just do with that what you will. Let your imagination run free, or if all else fails, just Google it. There's plenty of artist impressions out there. Let's be fair.
Brian,
anyway,
can you hear me?
So that's the plaque. So this was made by Carl Sagan's wife at the time.
Okay.
And it has a lot of information on it. It has the position of Earth in relation to 14 pulsars. And they got the information on that wrong. They found that out later. So if aliens are trying to find us, that is useless. They also have diagrams of...
They're not here. It's Carl Sagan's fault.
They also have diagrams of all the planets, so that aliens could know what our solar system was.
Okay.
But they had 9 planets, which we don't have anymore. We only have 8. So that's no use to anyone. Also, the only planet with rings on it was Saturn. But actually, Jupiter and Uranus and Neptune all have rings as well. So that diagram is completely useless. And there's an arrow pointing to Earth on the diagram. But people might think that aliens might not know what the fuck an arrow is. So that's useless. So on the off chance that aliens actually find the Pioneer spacecraft, which they definitely won't, they won't be able to find us because all the information is wrong. All they'll see is just our junk. And they'll just see the 2 naked people. And was MJ frozen or are they just bored? Might be both. Hello.
Can you hear me, Brian?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. You're back.
I was gone. Were you gone?
Anyway, I think there's a slight lag.
Yeah. Okay,
everyone's gone for me. I was
not about the naked people.
What?
I'm just talking about the naked people in the Pioneer plaque.
Yes, back to the naked people in the Pioneer plaque. Go.
Yeah. So there's 2 naked people, and I don't know. Do you want me to show it to you again? Because
I could try put the overlay on. I know how to do that, but I'm now scared to.
I don't know. The eagle-eyed among you will see that the lady hath no fanny, because they drew one in, but then they took it out because they thought it would ruffle too many feathers. In fact, they didn't even tell people. They didn't. There was a couple of guys who made the plaque, and they didn't even tell NASA about it until after it was launched. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we put 2 naked people on the spaceship. Did we not mention that?" And people kind of freaked out. People thought it was pornographic, which I think is really weird.
I love how the tiny space stick made it in, but apparently the aliens will just see one hint of flaps and they're just like,
no, that was more for people. It was more for humans that they can't deal with that. They can't deal with vulvas. It's not it's just not done. but there was, so people were annoyed because they didn't tell anyone that they were putting naked people onto these spaceships and sending them off into space.
Okay.
And so people were annoyed. Also, as well, people were annoyed because they tried to make the two figures pan-racial, so that they didn't look like any one particular race, so as not to offend anyone. And it kind of worked because white people thought they looked white, black people thought they looked black, and Chinese people thought they looked Chinese. So they got the intended effect. But a lot of white people were giving out about how it was really racist that they just sent a picture of white people into space, not anyone else. So they got into trouble for that. Also,
sorry.
They were going to hold hands as well. Carl Sagan wanted the man and the woman to be holding hands, but then he was worried that aliens might think that they were just one creature. So they split them into two. And people were also annoyed as well because the man is holding up his hand because he wanted to show that we had an opposable thumb.
Okay.
And people thought it was sort of like that the man was being dominant and he was like, and the woman was submissive. Which is weird because this was back in the early 70s, and you kind of think that shit only just started with Twitter, But people were getting narky about stuff even back then.
This fun fact: there was actually kind of oh god, I hate myself for using the term, but almost like a wokeness race between the Soviet Union and the US. Because the Soviets had the first female cosmonaut. That was in, I'm Googling it, 1963, Valentina Tereshkova.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that they made sure that she had to take part in this really important tradition for cosmonauts, which was pissing on the launch pad. So that they just made sure she was included in that. So like there's a photo of her out there where she's just like awkwardly squatting. But the US weren't happy about it.
Why is that a tradition?
I don't know. History does not relate. But this is just it's wrong on so many levels anyway, because you're using people as political pawns and getting them to take part in there. I don't know whether Valentina was up with the pissing ritual or not. History does not relate, but they the US kind of saw this and basically went, "Oh yeah, we see your woman and raise you a black guy."
Was there a black guy?
Yeah, Ed Wright, who was
because America didn't send a woman into space for a long time.
No, they didn't. But the Soviets after this, actually. But Ed Wright, I'm Googling it. I am a professional. So he went in the mid 60s. No, it wasn't. Hang on. I am a hack and a fraud. Here we go. Gwen Stewart Bluford Jr. Actually, that's not even close. But yeah, it was.
What was his name?
Guyon or Guion Stewart Bluford. Bluford. It's yeah. Anyway, very very weird and oft overlooked part of the space race. Allie came back and then went away again while I was Googling it. I don't know. Is she storming off in disgust, or is this just the end? Who knows? We'll see if she's back. Anyway, sorry, continue with your space naked people.
Well, Jane's wondering there in the comments about the dog starting the tradition. If Laika, the Russian dog, pissed on the launch pad, it probably happened.
I am going to take your word for that, Jane, and I will come back and vigorously fact check it in our next episode. We're going to start with a whole 5-minute segment where I just investigate this claim. Space naked people.
Yeah, well, that's the dick pic. I'll get onto the mixtape, and the mixtape is then a few years later in the 70s. Then in like by 77, they launched Voyager 1 and 2.
Okay.
And this time they went and they said, listen, can we send another message out to the aliens? And NASA were like, yeah, fine, but no more naked people, no more dick pics. So we're going to oversee this. So they wanted some sort of time capsule. They settled on a record, gold record, to send out. And they stuck it on the side, and it had music on it and also pictures. And I don't understand how you get photographs onto a record, but you can apparently, and they did. And they had a little stylus and instructions to the aliens to how to play the record player, how to set it all up. And so it was his wife, Linda Saltzman, was involved. There was another woman, Anne Druyan, who was the creative director, was a novelist and was in charge of getting a lot of the stuff on it. They put a lot of pictures on it. I don't know. I had one sent there for upload. It's kind of a terrifying picture of people eating food. You see this? They're eating and drinking. They all look a bit high. Don't they? It's weird. Oh, there we go. So that's on an album that's sent out into space. That and about 100 other pictures of life on Earth. And what else? Greetings in 50 languages, which I think is just confusing. Because
only half the languages, or not even only
Yeah.
half the nations of the world. That's a bit exclusive.
A little bit.
Well, like it's America's spaceship. Like they could just do it in English if they wanted.
Yeah, no, actually, it
I
could have been so much worse. It could have been so much worse.
But that's the thing. It's Carl Sagan's weird hippie bullshit that he wants to put in everything. That he doesn't want to have any. He didn't want to have any pictures of war or weapons or anything, which I think really
Probably
misrepresents
marketed.
us.
Well,
No.
it's-
30 years after World War II, yeah.
yeah, no, it's interesting considering what we're going to learn about Carl Sagan later.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually think I know. I think I know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what else? And then the music. 90 minutes of music.
Okay, what's the music?
Mozart, Beethoven, Chuck Berry's Johnny B. Good. There's some old blues stuff there, and a lot of different sort of world music. And the most one notable absence is the Beatles. They wanted "Here Comes the Sun" by the Beatles, but EMI owned the rights and wouldn't let them put it on the record because they wanted to get royalties from aliens if they played it in outer space.
They believed enough that aliens were out there that they thought they could get royalties, and if EMI believe it, then it's good enough for me. Sorry.
That's it. Like they were so annoyed as well. They really wanted the song to be on the album, and they couldn't put it on it. So here's the other weird bit of relationship thing. The creative director, Andrew Druyan, I think her name is. She was getting some music, and she got this piece of Chinese folk music, and she was particularly excited about it. And she phoned Carl Sagan to tell him about it, and they had this phone conversation. And during the phone conversation, they realized that they were in love with each other, and decided to get married. And then they hung up, and Carl Sagan phoned her back and went, "Listen, just to make sure, I'm really serious about us getting married." And she went, "Yeah, okay." They were both married at the time to other people.
Yeah.
And then they got divorced. And also, Carl Sagan's wife was the producer of this album, and promptly then got dumped. Then once it went out into space, and this rubbing salt into the wounds. This was just before they made the record. Anne
the project
had
was
this.
finished. This was before the project was finished.
Yeah, it was while they were making the record, while they were putting it all together. They decided they were going to divorce their spouses and get married. But then the last thing they did for the record was Anne had this idea to go into a hospital and record the sound of her brain waves and put them onto the record. Because an alien civilization, thousands of years in advance of us, could possibly take these brain waves and do something with them where they could see someone's thoughts or maybe even experience their thoughts. And that was the idea. I know it's a bit of a long shot, but that was the idea. So there is
honestly, if she was willing to do that in the middle of a project, I don't know if there's going to be many thoughts there to find.
Well, I'll tell you what the thoughts are, because she went in to record the thoughts, but because 2 days earlier she had this phone conversation, all she was thinking about was how much she loved Carl Sagan, and those brainwaves ended up on the record. So yet again, he managed to make it all about himself. And so that's if aliens are out there and they find this record and they're able to download these brainwaves somehow and experience Earth, all they'll feel is how much they love Carl Sagan. And so that is the story of the curiously personal tale of humanity's interstellar unsolicited dick pic and mixtape.
Nice.
That's fabulous.
Back to you, MD.
The original interstellar fuckboy.
Oh god, yeah. No, like if there are aliens out there, they're just gonna want to be here for this guy. So, oh god, Carl Sagan, you will have a lot of explaining to do when first contact happens, which it will, Brian.
Oh, Carl Sagan also wrote the movie Contact, starring Jodie Foster.
Oh well. Not the worst of his crimes, is it? Anyway, okay, Allie, you missed our elevator pitch exchange for these things. What is yours? What tale will you regale us with this evening?
Space Strike.
Space Strike. Nice.
Space Strike. And not the kind of communist in space you were expecting. So guys, the year is 1970. The year is 1972. The Apollo 17 mission, the last lunar mission, has just landed. And, the Americans are looking around at all the spare equipment and, they've won the moon race. They know, they own the moon. The moon is America's bitch for the next 40 years before the Chinese... Have the Chinese landed? I don't know. Anyways, whatever. The Chinese are nearly on the moon, or they're going to be there anytime soon. Any day now, the Chinese will be on the moon. And then China can own the moon. But for now, it's still America's bitch. I don't know why I'm coming in this hot, but okay.
I'm going to stay quiet until later.
All right. So, the Soviets had seen, okay, we lost in a race. What will we do? We're they're like a bold child. Oh, my friend won the competition. I'm going to, like the soccer game, I'm going to start playing rugby because I'll be better at rugby than them. So they started building space stations. And the Americans were looking around after the lunar project and went, yeah, we own the moon. Let's fucking own space stations too. So they set up a committee to see what they could do with all the old Apollo gear, because they had a bunch. Well, they had 2 or 3 rockets left over, and they were like, "Yeah, let's repurpose this shit into a space station." So they end up making, quite frankly, for its time, and even now, especially compared to the Soviet stations at the time, quite frankly, a massive little space station. It was 1,600 square foot, which is that's actually bigger than my apartment. Which doesn't. But we're putting this thing into fucking space, so they launched, and this also, you were wondering how they got the extra funding in the 70s for this. It's the DoD, Department of Defense, decided to go collaborate with NASA to make this thing, because they were like, hey, space snaps, get those perv shots in on the Russians. We got to see what they're up to behind that fucking Iron Curtain. So they built a project called Skylab, and there was 3 Skylab missions called Skylab 2, 3, and 4. 4 is the one we're going to be particularly interested. You might be confused what Skylab 1 was, and to be fair, the graphic designers who worked on Skylab 2, 3, and 4 were also confused. They made patches for Skylab 1, 2, and 3. So they got a little bit, not a good start, okay? When you fuck up the graphic design, that is a bad start. When you can't even communicate what the name of the mission is, that's bad. Skylab 1 was the unmanned launch. But obviously they turned around and were like, oh, we need patches for these 3 missions. And like the first one, the second one, the third one. And it was like, no, they got the names wrong. So the matches are cool, but they're completely wrong. So there were 3 missions, manned missions. Skylab 2 was launched in May of 73. It stayed in space for 28 days. It had loads of experienced astronauts. Astronauts had gone to the moon. Skylab 3 launched in July 28. It lasted for 15 days of experienced astronauts. Skylab 4, which was meant to be the longest mission, it lasted 84 days, was launched on November 16th, and it had an entirely rookie crew. So that's, again, NASA logic right there. I don't know what's going on with them, but for some reason they decided to send the people with the least amount of experience to become the longest human beings ever in space.
Do you think that there was something
like talk about
sign up for it?
I don't know what they were thinking. Or maybe there was something to do with base data because they were like studying. Oh, what do we have here? Oh, you got the Skylab logo. I love the fact that it's all 3 of the logos are great. Like the batches are amazing. Yeah, and it's got rainbows on it, so automatically me and MJ love it. We don't make the. It's gay. They made space gay.
Probably trans too.
We're getting sued by their families.
We're too now, but I like the Moon's family, and I'm like, anyway. Yeah, sorry,
fair.
While other people are talking on this podcast, I get to be a dumbass. So.
It's me talking. I'm the dumbass. Skylab 4 was an insanely expensive mission, right, guys? It cost $70 million a day. That's $270 a second for each astronaut to be there. Well, that's a lot of money. I missed that joke, but it sounded good. Sorry. But like, you think they'll take this with utmost seriousness. But when the rookie astronauts come in, they decided the previous crew had left them a hazing present. They landed and there was 3 dummies already in the seats of the Skylab wearing jumpsuits with the Skylab 4 patches on it.
Okay.
The height of pranks, guys.
Where did you?
Literally the highest prank ever done.
Where do they get dummies from?
Who knows what's up there?
They made dummies. They must have but imagine putting that much resource. And bear in mind these, we'll get onto it. But these missions were insanely expensive, and because they were insanely expensive, NASA decided that, you know what, we're going to get the most out of the astronauts. They didn't think of them as human beings. They only thought of them as as instruments to be used. So they were they scheduled their schedule not to the minute, but to the 30-second intervals. So every 30 seconds of their day was accounted for. But somehow they managed to find time to make fucking dummies.
Yeah, they had to do it in 30-second intervals. That is commitment.
That's commitment to the world's shittest prank. It's what are we?
There's not much to do up there, I hear.
I hear. And now, like, this mission, it got off, like, the rookies' mistakes started coming fast and quick. Like, one of the astronauts, by the way, the astronauts, amazing names. William Lenore, which is just a nice, strong name, sounds like a Star Trek captain. Don L. Lind and Vance D. Brand.
Very strong.
Which I think are... They're very strong, and they're making great use of initials as well. I wonder if they make fun of Eleanor for being Mr. No initial. But they hid that one of the astronauts had sickness from command. They didn't report that he had space sickness. Which, first of all, I didn't know space sickness was a thing. But considering I get sick in the backseat of a car, kind of makes sense. You know, I empathize with this guy. So they hid it from him. They were all grand. They were going crazy. Another amazing flaw they made, right, guys? They took photographs without permission of Area 51.
Oh dear.
Okay.
Led to a massive argument between all the different departments involved. And eventually it was agreed they would publish those photos. You can go look at those photos now. But nobody copped it for like decades after. I love the way you see Brian's fingers going, I'm looking for the photos. Typing away. It's like, I need to see Area 51.
I'm confused here. Are they like... Were they looking for aliens? Were they in space looking for aliens on Earth? They should have been looking in the other direction.
I don't know if it was gross incompetence or were they actually just like, gross might be a bit strong, but like it definitely, I think it was more incompetence. But what happens later, like happens next, would kind of add to like smear campaign. Maybe they were secretly Russians. No, they weren't Russian spies. I won't go that far. But they had a bit of a rogue element about them. This crew, like they started like the first 40 days they were on board. Of the 80 days, they had 0 rest days. They worked solid for 40 days, hours a day, every second schedule, no rest at all for 40 days. They complained to the controllers about their workload, and the controllers immediately complained back to them they weren't getting enough work done.
What work do you even have to do in space, apart from trying to spy on the Russians and accidentally spying on your own secret military base?
They had so many experiments. There was loads of agents, loads of scientists. Everyone was demanding more and more of them because they're all freaking out trying to get the research they needed. They were doing a lot of work. You know, they were maintaining the station. They went on a 6.5-hour spacewalk at one stage to repair something, which, let's be honest, that's fucking hardcore. Like, that's a long-ass spacewalk.
Longer than any spacewalk I've ever done.
Definitely. It's longer than any walk I've ever
several
done.
Hours, in fact. Yeah.
So eventually, it got to December 28, and they just broke. They refused to do any work
over Christmas.
Yeah, that's it. 3 days after Christmas. That's when they went on strike. Why didn't they go strike on December 25th? I don't know. And I'm kind of...
Was it a national holiday for them as well?
Apparently, well, they're not a part of their nation, so I don't... Actually, is that technically the US? I don't know. I don't know how international space law works.
Also, does Jesus have jurisdiction in orbit?
We will get there.
We will get there. It's been teased. Yeah.
Get there in a minute.
Sorry.
Yeah. So they went on strike.
Woo!
They refused to do work for a day. The Americans won the space race, and then socialism still won space. They went on strike to refuse to do any work. They went a full 90 minutes, which is a whole rotation of the Earth, without communicating with the station. They turned off the fucking radio, which, by the way, NASA denies happened. NASA denies all of this kind of happened. They just, like, their official thing is like, this never happened, but everyone was like, no, they went on strike. The boyos went on strike. They were like, the Workers United in space. They just did not. They had the crack. And you know what the best thing about it was? After everything was, they agreed to reduce their workload. But the even better thing is their productivity shot up way more after the strike. They took a day off, and like it changed how NASA did everything with space after that. They were like, oh shit, yeah, we got to actually treat them like human beings and take into considering rest and relaxation. Which, let's be honest, I know he was a Canadian astronaut, but gave us the bad boy, old space cowboy himself. What's his name? I've blanked his name. I should have written it down. Hatfield, motherfucker, Hatfield. Yeah, that guy. Ground control to Major Tom.
Okay.
Yeah, that guy.
Like, basically, if they didn't go on strike, we wouldn't have had Hatfield singing Bowie in space. Like, the world is a much worse place without that space strike. Let's be honest.
I'm very glad it happened, and the balls it takes to strike with someone who could actually turn off your oxygen conceivably. It's pretty.
Yeah, I'm really like we always say the workers have the thing. It was like, could you imagine NASA just going, fine, stay up there.
But let's see how far you get without air.
Yeah, but the brinksmanship is pretty high. It's like, yeah, guys, for every second we're on strike, that is $270. Like, that's also there is that side to it. So there is good brinkmanship there. There's leverage on both ends. It's like. But yeah, I think oxygen wins. But when they did return, they did stay in space for 83 days. They completed their mission. Their productivity was off the charts. But when they landed, they never went to space again. Yeah. NASA essentially ended their career. None of them
no more space for you.
No more space for you. You were reckless and you rookie. It's like that was it. That was the end of their space careers. One of them retired. One of them left immediately and took the data from his mission. He signed on as a scientist, so he went back to his science work. But the other two stayed as part of the program, but weren't selected for the Apollo Soyuz project, and they all retired before the space shuttle program. So none of them ever got to go, and none of them were ever selected again for a mission.
Oh well,
they got to go the one time. That's fine.
It seemed like
so that was the time
there. So
yeah, I think they were worked to the. I don't think they wanted to go back. To be honest, if I was them, I'd be like, nah, you're good.
You know, I know that like every time I finish work in a call center, I go, I'll never work in another fucking call center ever again. But I feel like this is a whole new level of that sentiment. Don't go back to the place where they have you on 30-second productivity monitoring. Do not do that.
Can you? To be honest, they probably had the world's most expensive shits as well. Like can we have a moment to applaud that? Like imagine if you were having a bit of a and imagine there's digestive issues in space. Like there's no gravity pulling excrement out.
There's the logistics of doing it in zero gravity as well.
I know they have vacuum toilets.
Yeah, so we're talking some probably 20-minute.
The International Space Station apparently smells like shit all the time because they just can't really get rid of it all, and it's just floating around, just floating into your mouth.
I doubt that.
Apparently, it stinks of shit. The space station stinks of shit.
Yeah, and they blame the Russians.
They blame the Russians. That's just for everything.
They always win. I love that about the International Space Station, though, that it's all sectioned off by national. Like they have a common area, but like the Russians have their own part of it.
Oh.
And you can't really go into the other countries' space sections, but they all hang out together and they swap meals because they all get different meal rations from their different countries. So they're like, I'll trade you some Russian pickle for some of your American beef or whatever. You know what I mean?
Nice. I like that.
And apparently the Russians have some of the nicest food because they tend to send real food, whereas the Americans tend to be more reasonable and send. But they have way better condiments. They have way better condiments. So there's like this weird barter system in space that I love.
I like that.
That was off. That's a random article coming back to me. Yeah, so that's the time there was a space strike.
Space strike!
Woo!
Power to the workers! Don't turn off their oxygen. So thank you very much for that, guys. I have 3 brief stories from space legalese. Because once we find out it exists, we need to legislate it because people do stupid things. No, yeah, that saying that contravenes a lot of what I actually do believe in, but somehow. Why don't we have space borders? Basically, we don't. We do not
Because it'll end up us invading the other borders.
No space borders, no land borders, sea borders, but there are no space borders, which is down to Dwight D. Eisenhower, who in 1957, when satellites and things were starting to become a very kind of real possibility, makes an international appeal that at this time of great tension, the absence of trust among states could really just be healed by removing borders from the skies after an elevation of a certain amount of feet. It should be fine. It should be absolutely fine. We're all a global citizenry, which he was, of course, doing because now everyone from NASA to the BBC agrees that he was developing a pretty serious network of reconnaissance satellites to spy on other people. So the community of nations were pretty skeptical about this because it was pretty common knowledge that he was developing a system of pretty serious reconnaissance satellites to spy on everyone. And there was serious pushback on it up until the point Russia launches Sputnik in 1958, when it suddenly just became not a problem at all because Sputnik flew over America. So it was basically, like, yeah, you feel this is a good idea now that your space junk is just flown over New York? It's like, yeah, okay. And some people actually think that Eisenhower possibly held back on their own satellite just so that Sputnik would come along, or a Sputnik like thing would come along to solve that problem. We don't know. There's no evidence for or against that, but I think it's cool. He was proved right in the end. But this laid the grounds for more exciting space legislation. Sorry. I am excited. It gets good, okay? Don't look at me like that.
No, we liked it.
Sure. So, the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, or, to give it its full title, the Treaty on Principles Governing the Activities of States in the Exploration and Use of Outer Space, including the Moon and other celestial bodies.
Yeah, that's less catchy.
Less catchy. Outer Space.
The Outer Space Treaty of 1967, which is the name of our band, by the way.
Yeah.
Nice.
Who plays? I feel like we're all natural bass players. Who's playing bass?
There's literally a bass just over my shoulder. See it right there, buddy.
It's literally the only.
I'll tell you what I can see. I can see your kayak, and I can't tell you how much it frustrates me that you have a kayak in your living room and you've never tried to recreate this picture from Friends. This is what the second. Listen, this is what we're doing.
I've never tried to recreate that.
Oh, have you not?
That's technically.
This is it. I'm Chandler.
By the way,
I'm going to be Chandler, and you're going to be Joey, and we're doing this. The second the restrictions are lifted, this is what we're doing. Okay.
Serious.
Yeah, that's happening.
I come over. I will find a canoe, but
they're 2 meters away. You can actually still do that technically. Actually, no, I can't because I can't go into your zone.
No one can go into anyone's zone.
No,
funny story. I used to work for a kayak company that's mascot was a literal duck. Turns out ducks don't have sphincter muscles, but the duck was still allowed right in the front seat of the van, but I had to go in the back. Space strike. Moving on.
Water strike.
What happened just then?
That explains why StreamYard is shitting it. So the mascot is stuff. Never mind. No, never mind. The most. Okay, so the treaty with the big long name. It basically laid out that no country can claim ownership of any celestial body in our solar system. So America is not. The moon is not America's bitch. The moon is a strong, independent celestial body. Who belongs to no one, damn it. So there.
Despite 6 American flags and Richard Nixon's signature on the moon.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you wrote it on it, you owned it. I would own like 17 pubs in Dublin right now from fucking toilet graffiti. So, you know, if that stands up in court, then fine. I will acknowledge America's claim over the moon. The moon belongs to nobody, and she's super gay. So, so it's also laid out some.
You can't argue with science.
Sorry?
Nothing. Go on.
Yeah, science says the moon is gay. So no country can claim ownership of any celestial body. So that's quite cool because that's why you see like sci-fi shows that were developed during this time. It's a loose federation of whatever. It's never a particular country named. Don't contaminate planets. It laid out some rules for how private companies could work in space because the Americans were pretty big on it. But guys, did your school, any school or place of work that you were ever in, ever have a rule that was there clearly because someone tried to do it? Like no zip lining? Anything like that?
We had a tree that just had no loitering signs on the tree. There's like one particular tree where all the metalheads used to hang out, and they're like, "No, we don't like you. You guys can't hang out together, so you just can't hang out by this tree."
Yeah, no, I was a particular fan of no zip lining and don't get the swans drunk.
Don't get the swans drunk, MJ.
One time.
Once is all it takes.
Yeah, I know. I should bring those swans. Brian, or brain Cheatle as you are, we did not point that out. That was a deliberate choice.
I put that in for the nerd herd, and I don't know how to fix it.
Fair.
So that's my name.
You have to leave to fix it.
Don't leave.
No, it's fine. I'm happy with it.
Okay, so one such rule that was in the Outer Space Treaty of 1967 was don't nuke the moon.
Mm-hmm. That kind of goes without saying.
It should, really, shouldn't it? Don't nuke the moon should not be a controversial statement, but no, you cannot nuke the moon. You cannot aim WMDs at the moon. You cannot, I like this one, you cannot conduct biological warfare on the moon. You cannot have, yeah, I know.
Like, yeah, I think that's just, you can't, there's no atmosphere, so you cannot, cannot do it. You just, it's not you may not do it, you physically can't do it. And if you did, everyone's in a spacesuit, so how does that work?
I just want you to know, Brian, I'm not doing that.
No, I can see the look on her face. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so moon is nobody's bitch, and you can't nuke it. So, of course, this is because people tried. People tried to nuke the moon. The U.S. had Project A119. To nuke the moon.
Listen, I think you should leave that up for every single Hysteria.
That's our new Hysteria catchphrase. Do not nuke the moon.
I really like the Don't Panic one, but I'm warming to Don't Nuke the Moon. I gotta say. Hysteria Network, they did what now? Don't nuke the moon. Never nuke the moon. Don't try it. So the US did with Project A119. You can actually read the whole 190-page document associated with that if you choose to. I did not. Yeah, but this started in 1958. Again, it was just after Sputnik. Everyone's going a little bit crazy. So this guy called Leonard Rifle, he led the project, but this project was also worked on by a young Carl Sagan. Hey.
Oh, Carl.
Yeah, not so much on your bullshit right now, Carl, are you? Nuking moons all over the place.
Carl nuked the moon, Sagan.
Yeah. It never got off the ground, so to speak. But when you think about it logically, it does seem like not the worst idea if you're going to test nuclear weapons to do it on the moon, because that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to explode a H-bomb on the moon. It was going to be about 1/10 of the one that was dropped on Hiroshima. And when you think about it, the moon seems to be an okay place to test something like that out. You misspelled Sagan. I want to make it clear that I'm not doing these captions because I would never misspell Sagan. Anyway, I'm a fucking professional proofreader. I gotta,
you gotta manage the rep.
I do.
Now don't you wish my internet would break?
I'm gonna break it for you. Go outside my 2-kilometer zone. Don't make me go outside the zone, Allie.
I might have cursed myself. You broke up there.
It's just as well, Allie. You're getting threatened.
Okay, sorry. Anyways, sorry. Back to your story. My bad.
Nuking the moon. Anyway, so yeah, conducting a nuclear test where it's guaranteed that no one will ever get hurt is probably a good idea, right? There's some logic behind that.
I mean, though, the moon's kind of important. If the moon, something happened to the moon,
all the time. Well, her girlfriend would be really angry, and also the gay moon. It's a trope. Look it up. Moon. Also, the tides wouldn't work, and things would be generally quite bad for everyone. But no, they didn't want to do it for that reason. They wanted to boost morale. They thought that nuking the moon would boost morale. They wanted the little mushroom cloud to be seen from Earth as a show of American force and unity. And to this end, they wanted to use a fuck ton of sodium to make it brighter. This was the primary reason they wanted to nuke the moon. There'd also been a rumor that the Soviets were doing something similar in 1957, which they were. Project E. The Soviets also wanted to nuke the moon. So we don't know how the Soviet one got shut down. Again, the Kremlin are not very classy about declassifying their Cold War era documents. So we don't know how that one. But for America in 1959, someone with a lick of sense decided to put a stop to the project because they were just like, lads, if this goes wrong, it's a PR fucking nightmare. What are you doing? We've better things to be spending our money on than nuking the moon.
There's so many things on Earth we could be nuking. Come on.
I have a theory. Can we go back to like the space race just being two like petty teenage boys in a competition? Do you really think that America were like doing a score search thing? We're like, if we nuke the moon, then the Russians definitely can't go there.
Maybe
that's
what I like is that the race to, like the space race had started beforehand, but the race to the moon kind of really heats up after the Cuban Missile Crisis, and I just really love the idea of them both standing back and going, we need to figure out a safer dick measuring contest than this. Which is
first one to nuke the moon gets Cuba.
Yeah, basically. So this is a UN treaty. Almost every country has signed it. There are some places that have signed it but not ratified it. So places that can still nuke the moon include Haiti, Somalia, Ghana, rather worryingly, Iran, and the Vatican. The Pope could nuke the moon if he so chose.
I told you. I've been telling you for years. No one listens.
No.
You don't know what's in those catacombs.
No. Canon law.
Oh, God.
I know.
That apparently was the pun that broke my back.
Speaking of canon law, if we have time for one more quick vignette, guys.
Yeah.
Are we
definitely.
Okay. So canon law, as laid down in 1917, there was an addition that any territory will fall, newly discovered, will fall under the bishopric. Bishopric? No, it can't be bishopric. It can't be that easy. Basically,
I mean,
what? Where's
I mean, as Irish people, we're probably all too familiar with bishopric.
Yeah.
Oh God. Anyways, moving on. I know you said it was easy, but I couldn't walk by it. It's too easy.
I just fed you that one there.
I know. Well, it was there.
Let's leave
Somebody
it there.
had to say it. Let's just knew it had to be me. We all know this. Nobody else would lower themselves to that.
I don't know. I was gonna say no. I will absolutely not. So canon law says any territory will fall under the domain of the domain of the bishop, and the discoverer came from their departing port, basically. Which means that in 1969, Bishop William Borders of Orlando officially became Bishop of the Moon.
That's an easy job.
Florida. Orlando. We gave the moon to Florida.
Floridian because that's where the spaceship was launched from. So Floridian Catholics own the moon, basically. If anyone owns the moon, which is very much legally, nobody can own the moon. But if anyone does, it's Catholics from Florida.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like. Wow.
So the guy asked for it. Much like no. No. I'm trying to commit to no priest jokes for the rest of the
No, make the priest jokes. Make the priest jokes. Make it happen. Come on.
Maybe. So William Borders actually asked the Pope for this, Pope Paul VI, who actually was really into the space race and was watching. The Vatican has a really big fucking telescope, apparently. The guy was, he was
God's up there somewhere.
Yeah, we'll find him eventually. Turns out he was behind the couch. But yeah, that was me. So Allie's just frozen in despair.
No.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the internet or just my face right now. Sorry. Yeah. Floridian bishops, God help us.
Yeah, so the Pope was pretty into the space race. He asked the Pope, and he said sure, but he had stiff competition from Air Force Base Cardinal Terence Cook, who had a legitimate claim in that he was the vicar of the military order in Orlando at that time, but also from Archbishop Coleman Carroll of Miami, whose claim for it lay that in the fact that the moon was always over Miami. Anyway, William Borders kept the moon until he died. The latest bishop of Florida does not want the moon. Bishop of Florida. The latest bishop of Orlando does not want the moon.
It's not his decision to make. It's not the job you get.
Yeah, surely that's God's will that he be bishop of the moon. Like, who is he to deny that vocation?
I guess, either it's because the moon is gay or there are no schools on it yet. So,
there we go.
Yeah. There we go.
I'm upset with myself because that wasn't even a particularly good one. Yeah, it just had to break free. Okay, so what have we learned? Carl Sagan was a fuckboy and sent, show us your cats.
Well, yeah.
Kitty! Oh, Teddy!
Teddy!
Hi, also, Teddy. If you have listeners, if you have cats, drop them in the comment section.
We always want to see. Drop those pussy pics.
Teddy?
There we go.
Hi, Teddy.
Hey, sweetie.
How you doing? There you go. It's Teddy. Oh, it's Teddy. Oh, it's Teddy.
That's the cat.
Why?
This is how I never thought the camera would when you're crossed and show us your pussy. Oh God, Ali.
I said it first. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, you said it first too. Okay, sorry, I didn't hear you because my internet broke up.
So yeah. When do we have a show that's just Teddy? Can we just have a show that's Teddy doing his thing for like an hour?
Show us your pets. I think Chris Geddard's done it already. I
don't have any pets anyway. I've just got a ever-growing and increasingly bizarrely named collection of houseplants. I bought 4 more on my last essential trip to the supermarket.
Wait, 4 more
plants?
How many do you have?
12?
Yeah, you might have a problem.
It's the least of my problems.
That's a liberal. That's a light queer plant collection. You know what I mean? I feel like my membership card's going to get rescinded because I only have 1 plant in the house, which is bad. I want more though. I want all the plants. I want your plants. So yeah.
You will take my plants from my cold, dead hands, O'Rourke. I swear to God, I will smash that terracotta pot and cut your throat before I will let you take my babies.
Okay, bye everybody. Just like bye. They scared me away.
I'm sorry, I won't.
This is why you can't give me editorship control.
Okay. So what have we learned, apart from the fact that I am murderously protective of my houseplants? Carl Sagan, not interstellar, extraterrestrial fuckboy extraordinaire, also tried to nuke the moon. There are a lot of laws in space. Most of them exist because people try to do really stupid stuff. And the moon has a priest, and you can still strike even if they're going to turn off your oxygen. Anything else?
That's it for me.
That's about it. Teddy.
Okay. So thank you very much for bearing with us, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. We're back every Monday on Hysteria. The kitty's back. I am a professional and will not be distracted by the just really start for good things right now. So yeah, there's something good on Hysteria almost every night of the week. Tomorrow we have Quarantathlon. Is that on tomorrow?
Quarantathlon! Sorry, I can't help it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Just let it out. Let it all out. Okay, so Quarantathlon.
There's a big surprise in store.
Oh God. Oh, wait, I'm not involved in this one. Thanks.
Quarantathlon, the show where Ali O'Rourke tortures comedians.
Never wanted to see how utterly sadistic she can be. What do we have? What else do we have? We've got post-performance pints on a Sunday. Our new show, Ian Lynham's new show, Hades and Gentlemen, is excellent. I don't know when that's on. I should know the schedule. I don't. And guys, anything we've not trans movies, when is that on? That's
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night. Excellent. Okay. So I'm probably forgetting someone. I'm almost certainly forgetting someone.
Yourself, Nerd Herd?
Oh yes, Nerd Herd.
Friday?
Nerd Herd is on Friday. That gig, my gig, the gig that I run, yes. I get, Ali gets comedians to torture. I get comedians to come and talk about their favorite things, and it's nice. So, guys, anything you need to plug aside from those things?
No, that's it. Performance pint on Sunday and Hades and Gentlemen Saturday. That's pretty much everything. Keep an eye on our Facebook page, like and subscribe.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God, yeah, it's
maybe
live.
You could do something Saturday, maybe. Maybe that's an off-screen conversation.
Maybe. We'll see. Okay, so thanks very much, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, all that bullshit, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.